Yo, what's up guys? Reza here, back in another video, and I know it's been a really long time, but Yoimiya just released a couple days ago, so I thought I'd give my own little 2 cents, little rant about Yoimiya because she's been very, very controversial among at least the content creator community, also among the players as well. So, before I begin, just a couple disclaimers I want to let loose before. So, one thing is that if you enjoy Yoimiya lore, if you actually like her gameplay, you know, feel free to run her. Don't let me tell you who you can or cannot play, or who you can roll and who won't roll. You know, if you like characters, if you like Yoimiya's design, if you like some things about Yoimiya that I just don't like, you know, feel free to disagree with my opinion. If you want to, you could dislike the video before I even say anything and just leave. You know, it's up to you. And another quick disclaimer, you know, I haven't been uploading to YouTube for a while, so if you guys don't mind leaving a like, comment, you know, subscribe, helps me out with the channel, helps me out with the algorithm. I've been really behind on this stuff over the past couple of weeks, and mainly because I've been pretty lazy with creating content, but yeah. So this is going to be a very controversial topic, because we're going to talk about everything what I don't like about Yoimiya, and we're going to go into all of the nitty-gritty details. And so, you know, I'm not really going to talk about our positive sides, mostly about all the negatives, because, you know, there are very few positive sides. I'm going to be straight up honest with you guys. So, without further ado, let's get into this. So, I actually don't have, like, a whole script to go with this. Most people don't know is that I have a small note card, and that's it. So, anything else may be just verbatim. So, if some random topic comes up, I apologize. I'm going purely off script and just have a small list of notes that I want to hit, at least. So starting off with stat-wise, and this goes into the autos a little bit, kind of the whole kit. So, being a ranged character, a bow character in particular, Yoimiya has very low defenses compared to traditional melee-focused characters like Hu Tao and Diluc and stuff like that. And so she ends up becoming very squishy. But the problem is that it may look like she's a bow character, she can be like mid to long range, but the problem is, with how auto targets, the auto aim system is currently in the game, is that she has to be at close mid to close range in particular, which leaves her very much openly vulnerable if you don't have a shield to just getting one shot by enemies in the abyss. Mainly the Kairagis in 12-1, or the samurai guys if you don't know who they are. They can just straight up one shot you and you could just die very, very quickly if you don't know what you're doing. And so, I mean, that's kind of why one part of why, you know, she's kind of weaker than Hu Tao, because Hu Tao not only has a C6, even if you have C6, like she has Revive, she has a bunch of tanky defense, she has a bunch of HP, she can make up for this deficiency. That was stat-wise, and here's the meat and potatoes of this whole argument, that one that people love to talk about, the auto attack. And, you know, I'm not opposed to having single target focused characters, but let me tell you, she's really bad at even dealing her own niche of single target damage, because there are characters that completely out DPS her in single target, mainly being, you know, Hu Tao, Eula, especially even at whale levels. Hu Tao can just demolish Yoimiya in terms of single target damage, especially once we have characters that can, you know, mitigate the energy recharge problems that Eula even has. But mainly, let's go in first into auto targets. So, or auto targeting, like with the autos. So, the range, you know, again, people think, you know, she could be a mid to long range character. She can aim in decent target and, you know, and not get hit. You know, that'd be a good thing. Well, the problem is that you fall under the game's auto targeting system at some point, where if you're just close enough that the game knows exactly what you want to target, but the arrow time for some reason does not compensate for this, so you end up missing 90% of your shots a lot of the times if you're just quote-unquote far enough away from an enemy. There's a funny gif out there on the internet where, like, Yoimiya in her form is just missing like 90% of her shots and hasn't hit a single shot in like a whole normal combo. It's ridiculously hilarious, and it's just kind of a meme of how bad Yoimiya can be. She can barely hit anything, and not even that, she's complete dog crap when it comes to hitting the Sisson mages in the Abyss. You know, even melee characters struggle ridiculously hard with the auto-targeting. You know, we're talking like Hu Tao even struggles sometimes when she aims at a Sisson during a charge attack. But it's even worse on when you're spending potentially whole auto-aim combos trying to hit the gosh darn Sisson mage, only to hit her flies over and over and over. And there are some times, potentially against future bosses, where like especially against the mechanical array, where you happen to like, you need to hit a very, very specific enemy, but the game will not let you hit that specific enemy, and so you end up hitting everything else besides that one enemy, and it's just so annoying. It's just like such a problem. It mainly not only a problem with her, but just an underlying problem with auto targeting in this game in general. But finally, my last point with this auto, I know it's been a lot with this auto, but the ICD. And I know a lot of people are being, well, Razor, you know, she flies so much pyro, right? You know, she'd be flying too much, and so if you do like a vape team, you know, she's gonna be, you know, Xingqiu's the one applying the vapes. And actually, it's quite the opposite. It's the fact that Yoimiya applies so little pyro is what actually makes the difference. And so mainly what happens is that if there's a really good video on ICD, please go check out 1010, but this ends up becoming such a huge problem because you vape so little on a lot of these hits. And, well, Razor, my boy, like, you know, why not, if vape doesn't work, why not try overload? But the thing is, the problem is exactly the same. You end up not actually, like, you end up overloading on Yoimiya, but it doesn't actually matter because your overload procs are so far from each other, it's so infrequent that it doesn't actually matter. And so that is the whole argument behind autos. But now moving on to the skills. Oh boy, so the skill. And this will kind of go into tandem with the passives, so we'll go on here. So, the passive. So, the blazing arrow damage. So, it does, at level 9, which is what, you know, a max F2P player can do. It's like, you know, 1.588 times the damage. Well, this is actually a multiplicative modifier, so it's kind of like a melt. You kind of multiply it, and you'd be like, wow, Razor, that's really great. If you could, if you could hit like double your auto damage, man, Razor, this is so good. You could reverse vape every single one. Well, my dear, the problem is that Hu Tao does the exact same thing, except it's much better, because the minute you hit 2 enemies, 3 enemies, or if you even CC them with Kazuha, heck, I say 4 enemies, you could potentially quadruple the amount of damage you do with Yoimiya. Like, it's insane. It's just, why does this ability exist? Because now you run into the same problem of normal targeting one dude over and over. And it's like, Hu Tao does exactly the same thing. It hits much harder, hits more enemies, up to the point, hits harder vapes, even gets an attack buff. It's so crazy that, like, it just makes Yoimiya look like nothing in comparison. The damage difference between a Yoimiya and a Hu Tao, even in single target scenarios with the optimized teams, is ridiculous. It's not even a joke. Like, holy crap. And the difference between them, the two of them, at their fusions, at least like duration and cooldown wise, is that Yoimiya's duration is 1 second longer, but has 2 seconds longer on the cooldown. And that actually becomes a problem, because if you end up swapping early on Yoimiya, you could end up with 16 seconds of nothing to do. And, you know, Razor, you can do the same thing with Hu Tao. Yes, but on the same time with Hu Tao at least gives your team like a crit rate bonus, so you could at least, you know, do something and get some benefit out of swapping potentially early. The problem with Yoimiya is that you get nothing. Like, you press E, but this relies you hitting while you're E and your pyro damage, and this only applies to her. And at this point, this relies on your party member, but upon using your burst. So if you swap off early and don't have burst, she literally does nothing. And on top of that, you know, this commonly comes into contact with artifact builds as well, man. Like, you know, artifacts, especially with weapon choices as well. So most people end up wanting to run Remy, right? And so the problem with that is if you run something like the Hama Yumi, the free craftable 4-star weapon, I don't have it because I didn't bother with crafting with my prototypes because, you know, whale life, by the way. Like, you end up in a scenario where Hama Yumi wants you to be at full energy, but the artifact set doesn't want you to be at full energy because you swap off. And so you have to wait a whole auto combo for a long period of time just to actually get the amount of energy to get your bow effect actually working. It's just all over the place, man. It's like, holy crap. And if even you're a whale, this artifact set goes like complete bonkers against your constellations, specifically 1, 4, and 5, which like completely just nullify these and just wait a long period of time to actually do anything. Holy crap. Ugh. And then again, so like if you end up swapping early on her, you could end up with 16 seconds of doing nothing. Like, you could just, you end up, especially if you end up running 3 support characters, like Bennett, Xingqiu, Zhongli as your team, you can end up just doing nothing but Bennett E's for the next, like, 10 seconds, which is really punishing in Abyss, especially if your Bennett really isn't built for deal a DPS levels of damage. It's kind of like, whew, man, hopefully you built a sub DPS to make up for that if you happen to panic swap. And then finally, the burst. Oh man, the burst. So, this burst has a high cost. Believe it or not, this burst used to be 80 cost, like for some reason, and it does no damage. It does like 8,000 damage per proc. It does nothing. You know, Hu Tao can get a burst and it could hit for like 100,000, 200,000 damage, and you're lucky to get above 100,000 with this character. And not to mention, this burst has the potential to just straight up miss in Venti's burst. And that's the hilarious, right? She's a bow character, right, Razor? Her autos can hit inside Venti's burst, you know, the Vortex. It'd be a great idea, especially if you're on Elegy. Maybe you can get some good vapes off. Well, the problem is, it doesn't even work. And if you miss your entire burst on Yoimiya, then the entire thing doesn't work. Because if an enemy gets... Enemies have to get hit for you to apply the Auror's Blaze, which is the sign symbol you see on enemies. So if this sign symbol doesn't drop, then you do no damage, and then you end up in the worst scenario. I guess you got this 10% attack buff, and I guess the game really wanted you to make... You know, the game really wanted to compare a Noblesse ability, a 10% attack, to 12% crit rate, for whatever reason. For some reason, on top of that. And so this burst has terrible AoE, it has terrible damage, I don't know why it exists. I don't know why. It lasts 14 seconds even at whale, but even if you're a whale, this thing is dog shit most of the time. It's just, holy crap. And finally, this passive, man. This is by far one of, if not possibly the most useless passive I have ever seen. Because it refunds you trees, wood. The problem is, you can already farm wood ridiculously easy. Wood respawns incredibly fast. You literally save 2 seconds worth of farming. Wow. Great. There potentially may be, you know, passives that are worse than this. Like, but this is by far not a great passive. Hu Tao has better passives because at least she can create suspicious stuff out of food or stamina. And so she can actually double that and make it not as completely useless as you might think. And so... yeah, anyways, that's probably going to be the video. I know I've been going off too much on a tangent. If you guys ended up enjoying the video, you know, leaving a like, a comment, subscribing, you know, would really help out my channel, especially with me not posting. I will probably end up making more videos regarding Yoimiya's builds and stuff like that, and how I use Yoimiya and some showcases showing what even whales are capable of and how copium this character actually is. I also do stream very regularly on my Twitch, twitch.tv/rangerninjas. The link will be in the description, so if you guys want to see me roll live or play live or talk about builds live, please feel free to hang out on there. But anyways, guys, that will be it from me. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.